See anybody waiting?
Good.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment. The committee is a quasi-judicial forum, which means that once it's passed here, it is legal and binding. Only after your
Appeal period.
the appeal period, thank you, has passed. So if anybody has a question, please raise your hand. When it's time, I will ask you to give your name and address so it can be put into the minutes also for the evening, if you don't mind. Okay, without further ado, we have our
Yes.
list.
Yes. Take a move
Okay.
and a seconder for the agenda, please.
Kathleen and Narak.
It is moved by Kathleen Thorne and seconded by Roxanne Louis. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on November the 14th, 2023 be adopted as presented.
Everybody in favor? Carried. Okay. The adoptions of the minute, I need a mover. Campbell and Narak.
It is moved by Campbell Anderson and seconded by Roxanne Louis. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on October the 10th, 2023 be adopted as presented.
Everybody in favor?
I wasn't here.
Yeah, you're right. Everything. Sorry, I forgot. Do we have any declaration of pecuniary interest? No. Okay, sorry. Okay, we'll move on to the applications. So C6323, Damir Kalak.
Yes, it is moved. I need a mover and a
Need a
seconder.
mover and seconder.
Hello.
Campbell and Kathleen.
It is moved by Campbell Anderson and seconded by Kathleen Thorne. Be it resolved that the consent application made by Damir Kalak for the creation of new lots on Tratsier Road in the municipality of West Nipissing is approved on the following conditions. That a reference plan be prepared and deposited in the land registry office. The taxes be paid to date. The conditions be met before November 15th, 2025. That a transfer deed be submitted to the municipality. That any portion of the municipally maintained and traveled road located on either the severed or retained lands at 10 meters from center line, including the retained land, shall be surveyed and transferred to the municipality. And that the owner shall demonstrate that the development can occur on severed lot 1, which will fall out of the influence area of the Class 3 industrial use occurring within 1,000 meters of the subject lands. Through you, Mr. Chair, this application had initially come back in 2022. And at the time, the owner was seeking to make 3 quite small lots at the southeast end of the east end of the property. At the time, it was felt that the lots, and given the uncertainty of the unevaluated wetlands, which are located at the lower portion of the property, it was deferred, or actually a decision was deferred in order for the owner to get information regarding the environmental. He subsequently conferred with FRI Environmental Services, who recommended that the lot sizes be increased such that there would be plenty of lot area on each of the lots to stay out of any areas of uncertainty, which is what the has done. So the lots have gone from being 1 hectare a piece to being, I think, in the neighborhood of I don't have them there. So yeah, they're like 11, 10 hectares. So they're 25 acres. So they went from being 2 acres to 25 acres a piece, which is gives them lots of space and room to roam. I'll just bring up the I'm going to bring up the property on our GIS, because I want to just, for the next part, just explain what is going on with the correspondence that we received from the Ministry of Natural Resources. And then Mr. Goodrich can explain his response, with a copy of which is on your desk. So This is, we received a commentary from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. I'm just going to pull it up.
Yeah.
From the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry last week, which in itself is unusual, but anyways, in any event, we did. So this is the property here that is the subject of the severance. As you can see, it's quite a big piece of property. And you'll see that the lower portion of the property is quite, it's all swampy down here, which was the concern. Initially, the lots were all being made down in this corner here, and wasn't the greatest idea. But now with the lots being as big as they're planning to be, it's going to make, I think, a little more sense. There is an active aggregate extractive pit right over here on Corshane Road, and this little section right here. And as the crow flies, this corner of the severed one would fall inside of what is considered to be the influence area of the pit. Under the provincial policy statements, aggregate extractive resources are to be protected and to be, assurance given that they can expand. In this case, I think it's fairly clear from the geography of the property where the pit's located that the likelihood of this expanding into the field is fairly slim. This is where the aggregate is located on this property, is right in this spot. But as the ministry licenses the whole parcel, so obviously we have to start at the edge and measure outwards. So in reality, the pit itself is outside the influence area, but the bottom corner of the lot falls inside of it. So that was their commentary, is that they had concerns for the protection of the aggregate extractive resource lands, which are in some proximity to the proposed severance. I'll be fine. So what I did include in my condition is that the owner shall demonstrate that the development on severed lot 1 can be done such that it falls outside of the industrial uses. And with that, I will, before I ask Mr. Goodrich, I guess I'm not the chair. Carry on.
Mr. Goodrich, do you have anything to add to the?
Perhaps I could. Actually, I'd like to see the condition number 6 altered to say that we need to demonstrate that we are beyond the 300-meter buffer from an aggregate rather than being beyond the 1,000-meter influence area. Sorry, if you could just pan up a little bit on this screen. This is the actual aggregate site. Up here is the quarry site. The entire lot is part of the license area. So when we go from the quarry site to the corner of our property, which is way over here, it's 979 meters from here to here. And it's 803 meters roughly from here, from the actual edge of the license to the edge of our property. The first lot in width is only about, in total, bend in the road, I think it's 166 meters wide, and perpendicular width, it's probably only about 150. To meet the criteria of 1,000 meters from the license area, all of that first severed lot would be within that 1,000 meters. So we simply can't meet that, but already from where the actual quarry site, the aggregate extraction is occurring, we're almost 1,000 by the time we add our 15-meter setbacks from the road and from the sideline. We meet the 1,000 meters. But like I say, under the MOE's D6 or the MECP now, there are D6 series guidelines, and that's where the MNRF was relying upon that document for the 1,000-meter influence area. It further states, and unfortunately the MNRF planner didn't put that into her report, I did include a full copy of the D6 series guideline highlighted to show the other area that showed the 300-meter buffer for a Class 3 industry, which is the heaviest industrial use, which is an aggregate site. And they state as long as you have the 300 meters and as long as you can prove that there's unlikely to be any impact, then, like, once again, you can see the rock ends right about here. Their property line ends right about here. The license ends right here. So there's no expansion this way. If anything, the expansion is going to be through the rock area in this zone, becoming even further away from our property. The haul route, as you can see, goes up out here, up Cochine Road, out to Highway 64. There is no connecting road between Cochine and Trottier Road, so there's no impact on the traffic, you know, with the heavy trucks hauling. We do have farmland in between, so any vibration from blasting is dampened. We also have a fair bit of higher rock and forest cover, and these lots are also heavily forested, so any dust or noise would be mitigated by the forest cover that's in the area. And I put that all into the report, and I believe that's what the D6 series guideline says, is that we have to justify anything below the 1,000, but that you have to maintain 300. 300 meters would only come to about here. So anyways, I'll leave that with you, and if we could just amend that condition 6 to say to be a minimum of a 300 meter buffer from the aggregate license in accordance with the D6 guidelines, then I know we can easily meet it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from our panel?
Yeah, just for clarification, please. On, I don't know what page it is, the second one where there's a shaded area. Does the shaded area represent the wetland or the area that they intend to develop or build on? Because you said the wetland was further south, closer to the shore.
Yeah, the wetland it's in the whole property.
Yeah.
So on, what you said, the
It
second.
says 60 to 32.
Are you looking at the agenda document? Okay, you're looking at the agenda document. Yes,
So the shaded area indicates where the development or building would happen?
oh, no, the shaded area is actually just the area that is located above the, there's hydro line running. The lots
Okay.
actually extend, the area that is down here. The actual marshy area is down here in the south portion of the property. If you look on the copy of the M&RF mappings,
Thank you.
you can see the little blue thingies. I don't know what they call those little things, those little blue things that they use
I think that's
for wetland symbols.
Yeah, so the development can be above the wetland. There's enough land above it.
So then that retained section is not really viable for development because it's all wetland? Is that what I'm seeing in the maps here?
The retained land does have a smaller building envelope than the other lots. It does have, though, quite a high section on it. If you look on the topographic, I didn't include that. It was in the original file. There's a very high spot on that retained portion that was actually at one time going to be a building permit site by a prior owner, but they didn't proceed. So Severed One does have a suitable site, even though it has less suitable area in general.
The information that was provided by the regional planner at M&RF, that is not in the package, like what her original comments were. So we have the reply from, what's that?
They weren't in your package?
No.
Oh, my goodness, I am so
From the
sorry.
M&I?
Yeah,
No, it was online.
it was
I
in the agenda?
no, I got it online this afternoon.
You got
So,
this,
Natasha, yeah.
but the M&R.
No, I just have the reply from Mr. Goodrich.
Oh, okay,
but
my-
I don't have the information
That
provided by
is,
Lynn.
I am very, very sorry. It was supposed to be in your package and somehow it did not make it. I will read it. Basically, it states that the subject property is located 814 meters to the east of an active aggregate operation. They differ from by Mr. Goodrich by about 10 meters. There is an unevaluated wetland situated in the southern portion of all the lots to be severed. There are no areas of natural or scientific interest designated for the site. A utility line passes through the property. Lake Nipissing has a warm water thermal regime at this location. There are no species at risk identified on the lot to be severed. Because of the wetland habitat present, it is recommended that the proponent contact MECP to determine if there are any species at risk in the area. The probability for wildland fire is low. Aggregate site. The aggregate license located to the west of the site is a Class A license for both pit and quarry held by Roleo Seguin Construction Company. The location of the site is available on the Pits and Quarries online. Policy 2.5.2.4 of the provincial policy statement states that mineral aggregate operations shall be protected from development and activities which would preclude or hinder their expansion or continued use, which would be incompatible for reasons of public health, public safety, or environmental impact. Technical guidance relating to this can be found in the MECP D6 guideline. We understand this proposal would create lots for residences which are included in the definition of sensitive land uses in the PPS. The guideline includes the following guidance when sensitive land uses are proposed in proximity to an existing pit or quarry. Section 1.2.4, in the absence of scientific studies, a guideline should be utilized when sensitive land uses encroaches on an existing pit or quarry. In these situations, the appropriate criteria are the potential influence areas, areas within which the adverse effects may be expected. For a Class 3 industrial facility is 1,000 meters. The most westerly severed lot would be within the 1,000 meter influence area, which I had indicated in my preamble. As per section 4.5.1, no sensitive land use should be permitted within the potential or actual influence area of a Class 3 industrial site without evidence or to substantiate in the absence of the problem when studies are needed to identify problems and mitigative measures, see section guideline. And that's basically what her comments are, all to say that this corner of the property falls within that 1,000 meters, which was referred to in my preamble and also in Mr. Goodridge's comments.
Campbell?
So just to clarify, and Paul, you might be able to help me out here. If there's no ecological studies done, rule of thumb, use 1,000 meters. If they're done and you've determined low risk or whatever they do, 300 meters. That's what we're getting at here?
Yeah, in a nutshell, yeah, but it's not even just an ecological study. We did the ecological study for the wetlands. I looked at it from the standpoint, and we do aggregate permit licenses for clients as well. We've prepared these license plans and operational plans for the aggregate industry as part of our business. So when I look at that, there's three main sources of what we call fugitive emissions from an industrial site that are related mainly to quarry sites. It's vibration from the blasting and the drilling, the dust being produced, and the sound, of course, of both the blasting, and usually when you're blasting, you also have a crusher operation on site as well. So what the MECP guidelines say is any development that's proposed within 1,000 meters needs a closer look at it. So that's just an influence area. Anything that's beyond the 1,000 meters really isn't going to be influenced by anything that happens at the aggregate site. So what I've shown, and I've got other plans that I think form part of your package as well, where we showed the distance from the corner to the actual quarry site of the 979 meters. So we're, that close to being outside of the influence area anyway. But the D6 series guidelines goes on to state, I forget what section I referred in my report, that 300 meters is the minimum setback that they want to see as a buffer between a sensitive land use and a Class 3 heavy industrial use. So in a case like this with the farm fields in between, like a thick, dense medium like bedrock, vibration waves or pressure waves will propagate very quickly and you'll feel them quite a ways away. In a softer, less dense medium, such as a farm field, it has the effect of dampening the vibration. So the vibration does not extend much beyond, that first, whatever, 100 feet of the farm fields. So then you're left with the dust and the noise of the operation. And the other one too, I'm sorry, the fourth one is the haul routes that I addressed. But so then you have the dust and the noise. And we are to the southeast of the subject lands. Prevailing winds in this part of the world predominantly come out of the northwest. So anything that's southeast of the site would be susceptible within that 1,000 meters if it was just wide open flat land in between. But in this case, we have the other bedrock outcroppings and rises. They're heavily forested. It's forested to the south. There's a little gap in the farm fields between. And then the site itself is also heavily forested. So there is a lot of mitigation of both the sound and the dust as it gets caught up in the trees and dampened by the trees. And then the haul route, like I say, the haul route would be up Corshine Road to the north up to Highway 64. They could turn and go south and then out to Highway 64 on the southerly road, but there is no impact on these lots. They access only by Trottier. There is no connecting link until you get up to 64, and then it's on a provincial highway. So there's all sorts of transport trucks on the provincial highway. There's no longer an impact on driveways coming out on a haul.
Thank you, Paul.
I have one further
Kathleen?
question for you, Mr. Chair. As far as the wetlands are concerned, if the severances are granted, then through the building department, any issuance of permits would be informed by the environmental assessment that was done to identify areas on the lot that are suitable for development and not suitable for development, so that the building on the wetlands would be controlled at the building permit stage.
Just to clarify, the proponent sought advice from FRI, who basically said, if you make the lots this big, there's no need to carry out an environmental assessment because the lots will then be sufficiently large that there would be no impact. So they never actually did a study. They just said, make the lots huge, such that there's ample room. So the from the hydro line up, there's no wetland.
Yeah.
All the wetland is below the hydro line.
But that when the building permits are issued, the M&R mapping would be used
Yes.
to determine appropriate locations.
Yes,
on
they
the
would
lots
not
for
be
any
given a
structures.
permit within proximity of the wetlands.
Thank you.
No, sorry, and that's what I wanted to ask, because if we look at the retained portion, I don't know what the size of that portion is that has no wetland. It's very, very small. So anybody wanting to build, so I don't know, that might be 400 by 400, and there's plenty of room, I don't know. But by looking at the amount of space in the other three portions, you've got lots of room to build. However, on that one, you don't. So if the purpose is to build, we want to make sure that you're not building in the wetland or on the wetland or, creating driveways or whatnot across to get to the lake and, boathouses and so on and so forth, right?
I did ask, I have three, Mr. Chair, I did ask actually last week I asked that question to Mr. Goulet, what was the area of that section above the hydro line on the retained lands? He did give me the answer. And I didn't write it down anywhere, but I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 acres-ish.
Probably at least, if I can, just very quickly, I'm sorry, I don't have a pen on me, so I will come and steal one out of here very quickly.
Put it back. I run out of them quickly.
You know me too well already.
I'm watching you.
Yeah. So if you look at this map in conjunction with the severance map, you'll see here's the wetland area above on the retained lands. Sorry. So there's the identified wetland area above this is the hydro line, this is the road. This is the retaining lot here. And when you flip over, so it's important to note that little dip in the road right there. So when I put this over onto there, there's the little dip in the road. So the wetlands on the retained land are in this location, leaving all of this area and any of the area north of the hydro lines open.
And
for
that's the area I
development.
was wondering, how big is that?
Well, this is 2.9 hectares,
Oh,
I think,
okay.
on this side,
Okay.
or 2.5, sorry. So I'm thinking this is anywhere from 3 to 5 acres
Okay.
on this side.
Which is more than the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, one more follow-up question in regards to wetland. How is the shoreline uses monitored or regulated? Thank you very much. So obviously these are meant to be waterfront lots where the people are building in order to enjoy a waterfront lifestyle. So how do you balance the protection of the wetland against the shoreline uses? So boathouses or docks, or how are those?
In reality,
Yeah.
the likelihood of any use of these shorelines is virtually nil. It is many, 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 many meters of swamp.
Okay.
It's not, it is a wetland.
Okay.
It is not a waterfront.
So it's even hard to walk down.
You
to it.
you can't walk down.
The further protection is for docks or boathouses, you need an M&RF license. And it's not impossible to do, but the same way that you do on the cranberry trails. The trails go all through the wetlands.
Yeah.
But you've built extensive boardwalks through that so that the public can walk without damaging the environment. Same sort of thing.
But at that point, you would need the an M&R.
You would need a further study of a site-specific study by someone like FRI in order to be able to get the permit.
Okay,
And like having seen the property, there's a municipal drain in proximity and I've been down there. It's not, you can't get there.
So the purpose is not to have access to the water?
No, these are not, they front on water, but I wouldn't call them waterfront lots, if that makes any sense.
But they'll still be taxed as shoreline residential.
Probably.
it's good for the municipality.
Yeah, okay.
We're still charging waterfront property values though.
There you go. There you go.
So,
Any-
what is being, all that, if what everybody's done, what is being requested by Mr. Goodrich is an amendment to condition 6 on the conditions, which had initially stated that the, demonstrate that the severed lot 1 will fall outside of the 1,000 meter influence area. Mr. Goodrich is requesting an amendment from 1,000 meters to the 300, correct?
Or that we stick with the 1,000, but that it be measured from the actual aggregate extraction area rather than the license area. And if that may make more sense and still hopefully satisfy the M&RF, but the M&RF was well aware of the 300 meter buffer too. They just chose not to put it in their or forgot to put it in their report. But you can also see, sorry, once again, the unlikely, so you can look at the aerial imagery here and say, but there's a big chunk of rock here they could excavate too. The house right here. And if they can excavate this without causing any adverse impacts to this house, surely, God, there's not going to be any adverse impacts to any of these houses. So if we simply just say the 1,000 meter gets measured from the actual quarry site, I'm okay with that, or that we maintain the minimum 300 meter buffer as established by the D6 series guidelines.
Or is that something we can add to?
This committee can do as it wishes in terms of the conditions. I do agree with Mr. Goodrich that given the location of the house at the south, to the south end of the property, it would be unlikely that he would ever get a license. If there were aggregate down there.
So me always being, looking at it the other way, nothing stopping, and I understand what you're saying, the likelihood is not, but nothing stopping from saying, going to those individuals and saying, hey, by the way, I'm going to offer you $400,000 for your home because I'm going to make 1 million in blasting these rocks. and the people will sell, right? So I don't think we can look at it the way you guys are saying. I don't dispute and change it, and I'm not saying that I'm not opposed to it. I think we need to ignore that rock, ignore that house, because anybody can come in and buy that house and tear it down if they're gonna make $1 million blasting the other rocks, right? So I think we need to be very careful on what we say of it's unlikely. It could be, however, possibility still, no, don't get me wrong, I don't know. It might just be make 100 grand off those rocks, but you know what I mean?
Within the guidelines set out by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change.
But they do establish, and as long as we can demonstrate no adverse impacts, then you can go within 300 meters. So for example, if we wanted to come, and I know there's no road here, but let's say we wanted to build a road and come up and around and several lot here 300 meters away, that's still, according to the D6 series guidelines, as long as you can demonstrate that there's no impact, and that would be tougher to do because there's not as much mitigation between the two of them. Here, even if they were to come here and blast this, we still have this great big outcropping right here full of trees that will catch the dust and dampen the noise or force the noise up and over them. We also have a lot of farm fields for dampening any vibration, and the haul route still goes the opposite direction. So I would change it just so that it is consistent with the D6 series guidelines, state that we need to maintain a minimum 300 meter buffer from the license area, no matter where they take the aggregate from, that as long as we've met that, and clearly we have even by the M&R's own admission, then we satisfy the condition, we satisfy the MECP, hopefully we satisfy the M&RF.
So I'm just going to snowball off of what we mentioned a little bit earlier when I asked you that question. So the wording that was from the M&RF was 1,000 meters unless sufficient evidence is presented, right? So I think we should keep condition 6 because you've already appeased that. You've already given sufficient evidence, and then add condition 7 saying the 300 meter thing, and then we can push this through.
The actual wording of the recommendation in the D6 guidelines says no incompatible development other than identified in whatever infilling and mixed area uses should occur in the areas identified below and illustrated in Appendix C, even if additional mitigation for adverse effect as discussed is provided. Class 3, 300 meters. So that's what they said.
So we're good.
That's what it says in section 4.3 of the MECP guidelines.
So we're adding number 7. And just say that we're going to keep the 300 meter buffer. You're okay with that, Paul?
I'm fine with that.
Everybody on is okay with that also?
Call it to a vote and find out.
Everybody in favor?
I have to read the condition. But what are we saying? That the owner shall demonstrate no incompatible uses within 300 meters of the Class 3 industrial site west of the property? Is that correct?
Everybody's
And what are
okay
we
with
and
that?
what are we doing
Adding
with
that line 7?
and we are keeping item 6?
Six
Yes.
should probably get amended a little bit,
I think so too.
just the wording, because it's pretty hard and fast.
Mm-hmm. So recommendations, suggestions from,
Can I make a recommendation? No. Could we just put it as a note to make the landowner aware that severed lot 1 falls within 1,000 meters of a class 3 industry?
Say, like, the owner shall, just like, mirror the wording in the D6, right? So the owner shall demonstrate sufficient evidence that The 1,000-meter, whatever it is, whatever the zone is called,
Class 3 industrial use.
is not impacted due to all of the reasons we've talked about. And then you move on to number 7, which would say, we're gonna rely on the 300-meter rule
Okay.
because of those reasons.
We can put it in, but what is his demonstration consist of?
The study that was done by GFI, was it?
There is no study from FRI, it's just a conversation.
Okay. Well, that's one, right? And then all of the evidence that he's presented forward, right? The geographical layout of the property surrounding the severed lands, the rocks, the trees, the farmlands, wind direction, everything that he said. The haul route are irrelevant.
So basically he provides me a written report of everything that he said up there.
Yes,
Oh, he did.
That's it.
Then we don't need a condition.
Well, it's already pieced, right? But I mean, the only reason I'm saying it should be in there anyways is we don't want to step on the toes of provincial.
Are we content that the number 6 can stay as it is, but has been satisfied with the written submissions provided? Okay. Deal. Okay. Note taken. You can call to a vote.
Okay, so I'll bring it to a vote. Everybody in favor? Carried.
Sorry.
Get a lot of stuff on there. It's right here.
And I do apologize that that wasn't in your package. I was off on Thursday and I didn't go through the package before it went out, so it's on me.
Okay, so we're moving on to number 2, C-6423, Carol Engelhardt. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ruck and Campbell.
It is moved by Rox St. Louis and seconded by Campbell Anderson. Be it resolved that the consent application made by Carol Engelhardt and Michael Bowen for the creation of a new lot at 234 Levert Drive in the West Nipissing Municipality is approved in the following conditions. That a reference plan is prepared and deposited in the Land Registry Office, a copy of the new survey filed with the municipality, property taxes be paid to date, conditions met before November 15th, 2025, a transfer deed be submitted to the municipality, any portion of the maintained road on the severed or retained lands be conveyed to the municipality, and that the concurrent minor variance application 2023-09 be approved as well. Because this application does have a concurrent minor variance, perhaps it might be prudent to present that at the same time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll read that resolution too.
Want a different mover?
It's entirely same or different, doesn't matter.
We'll go with Ruck and Kathleen.
It is moved by Rox St. Louis and seconded by Kathleen Thorne. It is the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to approve the minor variance application made by Carol Engelhardt and Michael Bowen to reduce the lot area from 1 hectare to 0.6 of a hectare on the severed lands for the following reasons. Meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan, meets the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. In the opinion of the committee, the variance is minor in nature. Through you, Mr. Chair, I have some concerns with this application, which have been discussed with the committee, with the proponent. I have concerns that in my view, there is sufficient lands in the property as a whole in order to meet the bylaw without requiring the minor variance. And I'll pull the property up. Well, the sketch is in your package. As you can see, the retained lands, if you add up the portions of the retained lands, you come to a number which, if you add the difference, we have in excess of 4 hectares in total on the property, which would allow, or pardon me, 2 hectares, which would allow for the both of the properties. I believe that the reason for the configuration of the application as presented is to maintain the actual driveway of the property. I'll just pull it up on my screen so that we can see it. 34 Levert. I know. I think I need to get new glasses. I just want to turn on the parcel fabric so I can see it. The parcel fabric on my mapping is a little out of wonky. It's a little wonky, so don't rely on it because it's not quite correct. So where the hell is it? It's right there. So this is the property in question. As you can see, it's got the driveway comes down on this side of the property. I'm just going to turn off the water so it's not so you can actually see the river. So the property, this is the west boundary and the east boundary. The driveway.
Can you put it up?
Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. You'll have to forgive my addle-mindedness. Thought I was already sharing. I didn't realize it quit when it changed over. There we go. So this is the property in question. The driveway comes in on the east side of the property and angles down. What is being proposed, what they want to do is retain the bulk of this driveway with the retained lands, hence the configuration of the severed property. My thought was that if the property line was brought down on a more straight trajectory such that the lot ended here. First of all, it would have get rid of the bend in the line, and it would also, I think, bring the severed lands closer to the 1 hectare minimum lot area. So that is my recommendation would be that the lot configuration be adjusted so that both the severed and the retained meet the requirements of the bylaw, but that's not how the application was presented, so.
Would this be one of yours, Paul?
With a crooked line? No. Yes, of course, it's
Okay.
one of ours, but there is good reason, the bottom got cut off.
Yeah, I don't know if it was yours or not.
It is.
Is there any way?
Well, if I can, if you can
Because
bring it back up on the screen once
You want me
again.
to pull up your sketch rather than?
No, pull up what's on the screen, I think is just as effective.
Okay.
So,
If we try to satisfy, I agree with Mel. If we were to just bring it out to the driveway and then just a little bit further down to the same hockey stick you have at the bottom of the
But if we're going,
dwelling.
but if we're going to have a hockey stick, we're going to have a hockey stick.
I know, but
If we just extend this straight down, look how close it winds up to the existing home that's there.
Yeah, no.
I think that's a boathouse.
But it's, yeah. So it comes right in here. Also, it cuts off an awful lot of the shoreline from this property. Now, it looks like they've got a lot of shoreline because of this. This is all flooded land. This happened when the dam went in on the Sturgeon River for the, whatever it was, Spanish River Pulp and Paper Mill, I guess, originally, around 1898. The original creek channel probably wasn't navigable. It's been greatly flooded because of that. But really, the value in the property is along the front. So we're trying to retain the value in the retained land. And correct me if I'm wrong, but what's the side yard setback in shoreline residential? 3 or 5 meters?
4.
4 meters? No, halfway there.
you're showing
What we're showing
7.75.
is about 7.5. Now, I went to the site. Your mapping's actually better than the mapping we used when we prepared the sketch. You can see the well is that little dot right there. And when I was there on site, I kind of got myself about 7.5 meters off, this corner, and I'm looking at 7.5 off that and the skew of the line. And the well's going to be pretty darn tight. So once we come to do the field work, we may extend this a little further up and then bring it up like this. So we'll have the increase, have the effect of increasing the area slightly. But even with where we have it at the 7, and the other thing is the orientation of the house. Now, if we were bringing a hockey stick like this and the house was oriented in this direction so that they'd be looking across somebody else's property to get to the river, I would see that not as being a good way to divide the land. But in this case, we came up more or less parallel to the side of the house, and the view from the house is out in the front deck over the river in this direction. So we felt it was appropriate to bring it up. The intention is to maintain all of this driveway with the existing property. The intention is the septic system is also right up in this location. So the intention is to bring a new driveway up and out to the road, and they'll cut that out during the winter months if this is approved, so that it's ready for an entrance permit in the spring.
So that driveway is not to stay?
This driveway
No,
here is
the,
going to
for the-
retain,
for the severed-
this
for the
little piece,
severed-
no,
Oh.
there will be a dividing line across that. Now, essentially,
Later on.
there's still the gravel's there, the driveway's there. And really, as long as both sides are getting along, it almost makes like a big circular driveway then through, but it will be two completely separate ownerships. If there's ever any conflict, well then, they just put a fence down and that's, each side uses their own driveway. And I think that's the intention anyway, is that both sides will have their own unique driveway. This will be more or less just a parking area for the house.
Any questions from our panel? Go ahead, Art.
So if they created their own driveway where you're saying, how close will that be to the following home? Is that gonna be anywhere near there? That home's,
Yeah, they've got a driveway that approaches as well on this property. This isn't quite in the right spot, but it's pretty darn close. We're not that far off this other house. We'll probably run somewhere like this instead. There is a little section of that comes across. They did approach the neighbor about including a little lot addition as part of this. But the neighbor was not interested at the time. So we left it off, and the intention is to build their own driveway up through here. There'd still be buffer of trees between, the new driveway and where the existing home is, as far as I know, coming up through there.
If I was to ask you again, move the line right up to against the driveway, the main driveway coming down. Yes.
Right here.
Would that give us close to a hectare?
I don't, like right now, we asked for 0.6 of a hectare as a minor variance. Right now, practically, we're at 0.682. If anything, we're going to increase a little bit because of the position of the well. But even still, we just don't have enough to be able to bring it up to a hectare. In fact, north of these lands, I think we're at 1.162 of a hectare. And on this side, we're 0.318. So we can't reconcile it so that they would both have
So you'll
1 hectare north of the water.
you'll probably end up being around 0.7 of a hectare when you're done, or 0.75.
Yeah.
So 0.7 of a hectare is what? Is it
0.7, 1 and 3/4 acres.
1 3/4 acre?
That's correct. And we'll push it as tight as we can, but we don't want to put it right up to the driving lane because being northern Ontario, we also need areas for snow removal and snow storage during winter months. So we're still going to keep it just off the driveway, and that was always the intention.
Any other questions from our panel?
I mean-
Carol and Mike are here tonight as well, so
question. If a driveway is gonna need to be made one way or the other, then, why why not satisfy the 1 hectare minimum by going straight down on the other side of the driveway, making that the access to the retained land, and having a new driveway from, I can't see, but from the point, like to straighten out the first lot's driveway, and then, you know, like you can still use it. Somebody's got to build a driveway in there, right?
But we're still not going to be able to have a hectare north of the water for both the severed and the retained. One will always be smaller no matter what. So we've kind of balanced it out. They also want to retain as much land as they can. We're almost twice the minimum requirement under the official plan. So I think we've tried to balance it out as best we can. One way or the other, a new driveway is going to have to be built, like you say. And I think it's probably better that this house has its own unique driveway that comes in separate from what's on. What doesn't show here as well, there is another tarp structure, fairly large as a garage, which is in this location. So, which would also impact where a new driveway could be located on this side of the existing driveway.
Have the owners has the Conservation Authority been out to the property to take a look for location for a new field bed for the separate
Well,
lands?
It would be on for the retained land. The existing is already there and is approved. But they haven't gone out and done a site inspection yet because there hasn't been an application for a new building. But if we can put a septic here, it's the same land that's on this side, so I can't see it being an issue for them. And with 1 hectare, well,
Oh,
we have almost
that
3
side
acres
meets
of
the
land.
that side meets the requirements.
Yes. Setback also.
Another
Go ahead,
question.
Kathleen.
In the area where it says retained 1, total area 1.162 hectares, and then there's additional land area south of the flooded land. So the flooded land, is that considered deeded still to them, even though it's, okay, and so that land area of 1.162 does not include the 0.2 or the 0.186 that shows as retained 2 and retained 3?
That
And
is
those are
correct.
not separate lots necessarily?
They're not separate lots.
No, it's continuous ownership.
Okay.
And because the land is flooded, it's not a natural situation, so it doesn't form a natural severance of the land.
And you'll see there's a total at the top. It's 1.558 for the total retained, yeah.
But it does include, you know, half an acre, over half an acre of land that's underwater. Certainly don't want to keep the guy coming in with his plane.
Yeah. Any more questions from our panel? No? Okay. Okay, Ms. Ducharme,
I'm okay.
Okay.
You
I'll
guys
bring
gotta
it to a vote.
You guys
I'm
are
going to
voting
bring
on
it to a
the,
vote.
we voting on the-
Severance and the minor variance
as presented.
as presented. Is anybody in favor? Nobody is, okay? Good night.
Sorry, I'm sorry, what is the reasoning behind? I know you have to give a reason for a denial. So is it
Sufficient lot area.
Yeah, I would say insufficient lot area for what it is, and my opinion, the reason is that I believe there is the space to get at least a lot closer to the 1 hectare on that lot without really, you know, it might impact the driveways and how they sort that out. But I think just from a development sustainability standpoint, I prefer, and I've been consistent with preferring to keep our waterfront lots larger, like that. The 0.6 should really be quite an exception. And in this case, there is the space that the lines can be adjusted to make it a little bit.
To make it a.
Yeah, and I don't speak on behalf of the other members.
No, and to add to that, and I mean, I know that Madam Mayor, Ms. Rochon prefers straight lines, right? And everybody
That's not
prefers
that.
straight lines. But what I'm getting at is, if we're already making, call it a hockey stick,
Mhm.
if you can add more at the top, so if you're going that way up and then go again, then you're gonna hit your 1 hectare, right? Yes, then you might lose land, but now you're gonna hit your 1 hectare. It's not what we want, it's not what we look for, it's not what we best want in severing areas. But if, and I mean, I'm not saying that it's gonna satisfy everyone, yeah, but if you also
So we
go.
cannot continue this here, Paul.
Yeah.
Because it's been defeated.
Yeah.
So we cannot continue. The applicant will have to come back.
Okay, but it'll be,
We'll have to redo.
the reasons would
Come
be
back
in
with the,
decision?
So the reason was is that the panel would have, there was enough land on both, on the other side that it could have been the minimum of 1 hectare on the other, on the smaller lot.
No, and sorry, Mr. Chair, and I'm not saying that I wanted to continue and change people's mind. What I'm saying is they asked us why, and that's my reasoning why also was that there's not enough, but if you look at the top and you can add more there, then again, that's my opinion, then going down like this, right? But
So the reason in the decision, the reason for refusal will be that there is,
it doesn't meet the,
yeah, there is sufficient lot area to meet the
1
criteria.
hectare.
Yeah, I will write it out. And we're onward and upward.
Okay. So we'll continue with the other application, C6523 with Patrick and Karen Hayward.
And we'll move on to second, please.
Hayward and Campbell.
It is moved by Roxanne Lee and seconded by Campbell Anderson that a consent application made by Patrick and Karen Hayward for the creation of a new lot at 406 Roy Street in the municipality of West Nipissing is approved on the following conditions: that a reference plan be prepared and deposited, taxes be paid to date, that conditions be met before November 15th, 2025, a transfer be submitted to the municipality, any portion of the municipally maintained roadway, which in this case doesn't exist, and a 3-meter frontage easement along Roy Street along the entire parcel, both severed and retained, be granted to Greater Sudbury Utilities for existing plant that they have alongside the property. That's in the conditions. That was in their comments that they wanted an easement across the front of the property for existing wires and anchors that they have along the road. Purpose of this lot is, this is a lot that's being divided for the purpose of building a semi-detached dwelling. The owner would like to sever the property so that at present, he's intending to keep it in one ownership, but would like to have the future flexibility to sell one side. And in addition, would like to install 2 separate sets of services, which typically wouldn't be allowed unless the lots were separate. That's all on this one.
Okay.
Meets all of the lot area and criteria for a semi-detached dwelling.
Okay, straightforward. Any questions from our panel? No? Okay, I'll bring it to a vote. Anybody in favor? Carried. Okay, it's done. You got it. Okay, we're moving on to our minor variance, the MV 2023/10 Gatto Enterprise on Salter Street.
Reading all of the resolution. It is, I need a mover and a seconder.
Kathleen and Campbell.
It is moved by Kathleen Rochelle and seconded by Campbell Anderson. It is the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to approve the variance application made by Gatto Enterprises to reduce the rear yard setback from 7.5 meters to 6 meters and to reduce the interior side yard setback from 6 meters to 3.4 meters for the following reasons. Meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan, meets the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The variance is considered desirable for the appropriate development, and then the opinion the variance is minor in nature. Through you, Mr. Chair, this application came actually before the Planning Advisory Committee and the council a couple of months ago. In short, and I have the 2 sketches here, in short, they're making the units a little bit bigger. So in the initial drawings, the units were 600 and 700 square feet, and now they're all in the 800 square foot size. So the units themselves are bigger, so the footprint of the building is a little bit bigger, bringing it closer to the rear line and to the sideline in order to maintain the parking and the front yard setbacks. It has to scooch a little bit closer to the side yard and a little bit closer to the back. In addition, there's a staircase at the back being proposed for a basement entrance. And it's a little
Vestibule.
Yeah, a little vestibule at the back, which brings it closer to the rear lot line. So in essence, the whole building is a little bit bigger than what was originally proposed in order to increase the unit sizes in the building.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
So I'm to assume they're still gonna maintain the proper distance from the lines?
Well, this variance is being sought because the increase in the building will reduce the requirements. So the rear yard setback would ordinarily be 7.5 meters, 25 feet. They want to reduce that down to 6 meters, which is 20 feet. And the side yard setback would normally be 6 meters, and they want to reduce that to 3.4 meters on the interior side yard.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
On the rear yard setback, so the main portion of the building, well, actually, it's the staircase that then brings it closer to that
That's
6 meters or so. And that's just one story, so the distance to the back lot line is not all 3 stories, it's just the vestibule or the stairs, or, like, I'm trying to
No, I think
picture it,
it's
whether
actually, I
it's
think it's
just
the
a.
actual building. That was
Okay.
the sketch. Where did it
Yeah,
go?
we're just looking at it
Yeah.
there, so is that gonna be 3 stories high as well, the vestibule?
No, it's like a little covered
Yeah.
porch on the main floor.
So is the setback from, that's my question, is it just from the staircase?
From there to there.
No, it's from here to here.
Oh, okay.
So that'll actually be even a wee bit closer to the rear lot line. But it's just,
But is it within?
Yeah, it's just a stairway going
it's
down.
just a stairway going down with a
Yeah.
little roof over the stairway so the water doesn't get in.
That's right.
I heard a voice, I like to
Okay.
pick. And were there any conditions as far as visual attention or, like landscape buffers or fences, like what's gonna be required?
The zoning
Because
bylaws,
those 2 lot lines do front on existing residential properties, right? Single family residential properties?
typically, there's only buffering required between commercial and residential, not residential and residential. Our zoning bylaw doesn't require that.
Okay.
But that's why it normally would have a bigger setback.
Okay.
Yeah, so the staircase side is on the railway side,
North
which
side.
is all
North side.
fenced.
Yeah.
And then the
So
back,
there's already a fence there?
absolutely. Am I
No,
correct, Mr.
no.
Gatto?
There's a fence in the back, on the second.
On the north side?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Is there
between,
not 2 residential properties north of the proposed development site?
No, there's only, yes, there is 2,
116?
you're right,
Okay.
there's 2 properties on railway.
Yes.
Which
Back-
their
back on.
backyard are onto this side staircase.
Mhm.
And then the back of the building, which is the backyards of Nipissing Street,
Yes.
I believe it's fenced also, but that's their backyards
Yes, their back-
also
Okay.
from Nipissing Street. So it'll be closer to the back end because all their parking is in front.
Take it, we're just gonna take a little spin down to Salter Street so we can look at the property. So don't mind the lot fabric, it's a little skewy here.
That doesn't mean it wasn't one after, right?
So the building is proposed to be built up in, it shows 2 lots here, it's actually 1 property, but the building would be in this corner. And so there's a house, I think that's a shed here, there's a house here facing railway. And these are accessory structures to the railway properties. And then there is a dwelling on the west side of the property.
Okay, so there's no home on Lily beside the building? They're both on railway?
Yes,
Oh, okay. And look, if what I'm looking at right now, there doesn't seem to be any fences back there, right?
Let's go down and have a look.
Kind of blurry there, but,
Let's see.
oh, there you go.
Ooh, there's a
Well,
building that
yeah.
doesn't exist anymore.
Well, that's what I did. I went at Google, I did the same, but it's got the old building.
I don't see any
So if you
fence.
go at the old building, there's no fence in the back.
I don't see any fence back
No,
there.
where the old shed is, there's
Shed.
an old fence.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that, so that's my main concern, I think, is the fact that if we're gonna go closer to the neighbors and there's nothing separating, whether it's trees or fences or anything like that, that's my concern.
Mhm.
Because I know there was concerns brought forward, and correct me if I'm wrong, was there not, yeah, was there a petition or something like that? I'm 100% supportive of what we're gonna do, but I think if we're going to be going even closer to the neighbors, I think we need to, I don't know, put up a fence,
The fence.
Are
a
the,
nice one.
are there, the trees and such, the kind of brush that's a bit of a visual separation, is that on the property for development, or is that on the neighboring properties? So the trees that we see along the back there?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where they are, but
Okay,
it looks like it is on our property.
okay.
Yeah.
And so
There's
those
a
would be
fence.
removed in
Yeah,
order
yeah,
to
there's
accommodate?
lots of trimming, but we could put trees.
Yeah.
Lots of bush trees or.
Yeah, we're just, I think the main concern is for the neighboring residential properties, that it's not, they're not staring out their backyard at this like
Yeah.
big brick wall, and it's just.
And the difficulty is we'll have to, we can't place conditions on a minor variance.
Okay,
We'll have to ask Mr. Godor to be on his own. Or we can, at the building permit stage, we can set it on as a condition of the building permit.
As long as we remember.
I can put it on the decision as a recommendation.
okay.
Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Close to, what, 16, 18 feet?
Mhm.
And they're gonna look,
And the parking remains the same at the 1.25 as specified?
The
in
parking hasn't changed.
Thank you.
they can put up.
So fencing on the north boundary or the north and the west boundary?
The west.
I think north and west.
Yeah.
West.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because we're going
that
closer to the
little
west
house
also,
is
right?
close to the edge,
Yeah.
too,
So we're going closer to both. I would
Not much room
recommend some
between
kind of
their
boundary.
driveway and the back of that
Yeah.
house, the new building. Are you okay with that,
Yep, definitely.
putting up a nice fence?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It'll finish it off.
Right.
It's true, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
There's some-
So
see, so,
That's right.
So fencing, recommendation that fencing be constructed on the north and west boundary, and I sign off on the site plans for the building permits too, so. Well, I'll remember.
Everybody in favor with that? Carried.
Again, we're very happy to have multi-residential
Yeah, we need new
development coming, so thank you.
Two rentals in the
Yeah.
in the municipality.
It's
Okay,
coming along.
December 10th.
you're good to go, guys. We're all done. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll bring it to the
next
adjournment.
meeting,
I'm wondering why Mr. Bouquet.
I have,
Waiting for the
I am
meeting
having
to
a.
finish.
Oh, okay. Did I forget to do something?
forget
Am I in
about
trouble for
it.
something? What the hell did I forget?
Thank you very much.
Good night, Pat. Okay, December the 10th?
I need a mover
Yes.
and seconder for the adjournment. So Campbell and Ruck. December 10th.
Yes, moved by Campbell Anderson and seconded by Roxanne Weed. Be it resolved that the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment held on November 14th, 2023 be adjourned to December the 10th.
Everybody in favor?
December 10th?
Is it wrong date?
That's a Sunday.
Yeah, that's
No,
definitely
so
not
it'll
that
be
date.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Whatever
The
the,
12th.
12th, sorry,
So December 12th.
yes.
Now, Ruck,
Wait.
I won't be here because I'll be in Florida.
Huh?
But, so you will be the chair. But I will join you guys on Zoom. So we'll continue.
Awesome.
But, you'll be the big boss, okay?
We'll get to watch Roger's skin gradually turn brown through the
Yeah.
months. And we'll all be jealous and we'll tell